Did Capcom execs really say that retro games are pointless? We'll talk about it right now. Welcome back to James Hates Everything for another must-see Thursday night. And we're coming to you a little early today. Thought I'd move up the show since Yo Retro is not on again for the second week in a row. I know people are anxious to get to playing Walkabout Golf and all the other fun stuff. We've got new Double Dragon this week. We got Ninja Gaiden 4. Lots of games I know people want to get to. So why not move the show up? And as soon as we did that, then another show was announced, a new show, which is pretty interesting. And for the second week in a row, Michael B is doing his big news live. So I know you guys have other options tonight. So thanks for joining us live if you are here live. And if you are watching us on replay, appreciate you stopping by. I know there's lots of choices tonight. I know I'm anxious to see some of these other shows. So I will get to watching those later. But for now, let's talk about all the news. Of course, we're going to get to our main story tonight. But first, we have to talk about the plethora of news that dropped in the last 24 to 48 hours, because there is a ton of it. And before we get into that, I want to say hello to everyone in the chat. Of course, Jason, the moderator of all moderators, who I'm sure is trying to figure out just what the hell happened today, that all these shows are live at the same time. JJ is here early, says games have always gotten better over time, better graphics, better physics, better stories, etc., but retro games stay pure and nostalgic. Their gameplay is tireless. Amen. We have Brooklyn Menace in the house. Thanks for stopping by. Of course, Stock Jock himself, who says the shirt is fire, and half hat tick to Stock Jock, who sent this to me. So really appreciate it. Had to dust it off for tonight's show. John Fritz is in the house, who says, I don't know what that is about, but indeed. Galaga Guy is here. Hello, hello. J Rod says hello and good evening. And of course, Brooklyn, I brought him up earlier, but he brought up Absalom, and I do want to talk about that a little bit since he mentioned it. He's definitely got me wanting to play it. And coincidentally, on my JHE Plays yesterday, I posted a few videos. One, my first impressions of Double Dragon Revive, and then another video of every boss fight for people looking for how you beat each boss. And it was interesting because I got comments on those videos about Absalom, and everybody's like, dude, the best beat 'em up you have to play is Absalom. So after Brooklyn got me interested in it and talking about it and watching him play, even more people are talking about it. So it's must be a stellar game. Of course, Jason talking about must-see Thursdays, which is now fire. JJ says retro games pointless. Hell no, maybe not as good as AAA modern titles. Outer World 2 launches tomorrow. We got Tim York, Dr. Torque here, says evening. Thank you. Evening to you. We have Save by Zero options. This is the option. Thank you, sir, for dropping by. Bill's Retro Gaming Show, who picked up on a ton of things yesterday about the AtGames TMNT, which I found really interesting. So we're going to talk about that a little tonight. Thanks for dropping by. And of course, Cyan Spirits is here, says he's double streaming. I'm surprised you're not triple streaming with all the stuff going on tonight. I also posted a link to Chaotic BPR's channel in the chat. It is his birthday. As I mentioned, Yo Retro's off tonight. So if you guys are not subscribed to Chaotic BPR, definitely subscribe to him. Every Thursday at 7, him and half a dozen do a pinball show whenever there's new releases from AtGames. It's always entertaining. They review each table. I definitely recommend checking that out and adding that to your lineup of watched shows if you're not already watching it. So first, let's talk about that TMNT, shall we? Oh, yeah, wait. Before I do that, I got one more thing to mention. Galaga guy, Dr. Torque. I see here in the chat, and it looks like P-Dubs is here too. Thanks for dropping by. Looks like in the chat, you guys are members. So what I did this week is I finally got off my rear end and did some updating for members. So we have new member badges, harkening back to our favorite home arcade company. And we also have a whole bunch of new emotes. So feel free to play with those in the chat. There's one kind of special one there at the end for those members who may get the inside joke. It's in there. I'm not sure how he'll feel about it, but I am interested once members start banging away at that one. But talking about TMNT, of course. Hello, Steve. Thanks for dropping by. Really appreciate seeing you, and wishing you all the best with the upcoming dental work. Very excited for you. Hope you are having a wonderful day and a wonderful week. But of course, TMNT, this is the big news, right? From AtGames, it's finally here. It is available now at Sam's Club. It's showing up in stores across the country. It goes live for sure. November 1st, I believe, is what we're being told, but it's showing up early. It's already online. You can buy it now. And of course, as you've seen in posts on my channel and in others, it will be on Black Friday sale for $200 off. So if you're really in the market for this, would hold off until Black Friday. You'll have about, I think it's a little over 24 hours, maybe 2 days. But I would count on it being like 36. You maybe got a day and a half. So it'll probably go live. That sale will go live on Thanksgiving and then go through Black Friday. But here's some shots of the table. Of course, you guys know the specs by now. It's the same body playfield as the 4KP, same computing technology in there. The difference on the playfield is the 1080p monitor instead of 4K. It also does not have solenoids, apparently, which I just found that out yesterday, thanks to some of the fine folks who dug up more information on this table. But it does support the SSF kit, so we'll talk about that more in a little bit. The only difference really here between the 4KP is this back glass. It's got the smaller screen, and it's a smaller overall size, a little shorter, a little narrower, but otherwise still looks pretty good in my opinion. And surprisingly, I thought this table really looks good. It's one of the better looking tables that AtGames has done. So hat tip to them. They really did a nice job of capturing that 90s turtle feel, except for one thing. And I first heard about this one thing, I believe it was from old Retro Bill here. And where are their weapons, right? I think he said they John Wicked it, or somebody said they John Wicked it. Yeah, there's no weapons on this whole thing. Like, where's the staff? Where's the nunchucks? Where's the katanas? And whatever those things are that Raphael has. Very crazy. And I saw here Jason says the lack of coin door is a little ridiculous. Yeah, that seems odd. That was just a little cheap plastic thing. Why lose that? Doesn't mind the color scheme, but we need some damn weapons. Yeah, like, where are the weapons? I mean, it's a kid's show already. What are they talking about? I know this is supposed to be for the whole family. AtGames is running with that theme. You clearly see the whole family here. But do they really think the 90s cartoon, the late 80s cartoon, the 90s cartoon, the 2012 cartoon, the cartoon that's there today is for adults? I mean, it's a kid's show. It's always been a kid's show. Yes, the comic book may be more for mature audiences, but the cartoon was for children. Like, seriously, taking out the weapons is one of the most ridiculous things I've even seen. Any kid can go to any toy store in the country and see these figures, these toys with the weapons. They can turn on any kids channel that is playing reruns of this one, or in fact, how Nickelodeon, obviously, turn on Nickelodeon, the show's going to be on there, and they're going to have their weapons. They're going to fight. This doesn't make any sense. Seems silly. Seems stupid. But whatever. It's a minor nitpicky thing. One of the things I noticed watching Retro Tech X's video last week that we talked about from the Pinball Expo is there's a really nice 3D shredder in the middle of the playfield, but really the turtles themselves aren't really well represented. You have basically a cartoon image of each one and the grouping in the middle, but they didn't get any cool 3D effects, any really standout pieces on the table. And I think that's a huge miss for such a huge IP and such a huge event or product for AtGames. So I would have liked to seen, even though I don't like those things typically, I would have liked to seen it with this. I mean, the opportunity to have them. I mean, Shredder's badass, but come on, people, it's the turtles too. Like we want to see the turtles swinging and kicking butt and stuff like that in this game. So that's a little disappointing. But there it is. It's $1,200. This is a great option, though, in my opinion, it's very pricey for people who are wanting to get the Zen tables but don't want to pony up for the full 4KP. The interesting thing to me is on the pricing side of things is I own a 4KP and I bought mine from AtGames when it launched for $10.99. So basically $1,100. This one, just the HD, missing the solenoids, the smaller back glass, doesn't support 4K. Mine also came with all the other things unlocked, like the OTG or OTA or whatever it's called. But this one's $1,200 retail, so already more expensive. And I guess that was 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago, because it would have been the end of the year when that launched. So, yes, there's been inflation, there's been a tariff, so I get that things got more expensive. Now that same table that I paid $10.99 for is like $1,800 or $1,600 and change up to $1,800. That doesn't even include the extra SSF kit. So it's pretty bonkers at how pricey that got. So I hope this is a success for AtGames. I really do. I hope people adopt this because AtGames needs a win. Obviously, it did not sell the way they anticipated. They came out big with the 4KP talking about we're going to have 15 different skins. We're going to have 5,000 of each skin. So make sure you get the skin you want because it's super limited. In fact, it's so limited, we're going to put number plates on these things so you know exactly which number you got. Like they really anticipated selling at least 25, what 5 a year times 5,000, right? They anticipated selling 25,000 of these a year. And we know at the end of year one, they were sitting around 3,000 according to leaks. So clearly way underperformed. They got desperate doing discounts. They did the starter where they tried to take out the OTG and some of these other things. They offered the affordable financing program. And then as we got further into the year, we started seeing different models dry up. So presumably some of that worked and they did get some sales, but they never restocked. So as they were out of Attack from Mars, like one of the classic tables, it's probably one of their best sellers, you couldn't get it. They never brought it back. They've never re-released it after that original batch. And so it's like, what's happening? We saw all the layoffs. Everybody knew, like, there's all these signs of potential financial difficulties. We don't know that for a fact. AtGames said it was to weather the storm, but everybody knows the customer service really went downhill. The problems with updates, everybody knows these stories. So no reason to hash them. So really, AtGames needs to hit a home run with this product, and I just don't know that they're going to do it at $11.99 or even $9.99 with that Black Friday discount. I think it's, makes sense. I get it. If you compare this to a $4,000 pinball machine, heck yeah, $1,200 is a deal. But if you're going for this family market, this target market, the customer that doesn't own one of these, and you're trying to convince them to jump in to virtual pinball, and this is your way, seems awfully high to entice that new person into the AtGames ecosystem. So we'll see. I hope they do well. But let's talk about one of the other catches for those of you who might own an HD now and didn't want to jump all the way into the 4K, but now might be considering an upgrade to the HDP so that you can get access to those Zen tables. Because to me, that's the biggest selling point of this table, not just the great Ninja Turtle art and style, but you're going to be able to get the Zen packs and they'll play on this table. And so, of course, here's the flyer that was posted recently to the official AtGames page. And again, but the promotion and marketing on this is great. Like it all looks good. Like whoever they're working with this time is really doing a bang up job. We know kind of the things they've done in the past, not so great. These actually look really good. But of course, this is where we got the confirmation of the SSF kit down here. Solenoids coming soon, so I guess you'll be able to order some aftermarket, which tells you that they do not come with solenoids. Of course, you can do that arcade control panel, don't really care. 3 free months of Pinball Net, which is a nice bonus. And why is it a bonus? Well, what we've heard today by way of insiders and trading information is that if you're a current HD owner, you're looking to upgrade, you are going to have to re-buy all your HD pinball packs if you want to have them on the new machine. So that means if you're upgrading, you're left with a dilemma. Do you sell your existing one to get some cash to try to reduce the cost of the new one so you can get that at a more affordable price? But if you do, you now don't have any tables. You got that one TMNT table that comes on here, and you're going to have to re-buy everything else. That could immediately erase any savings you have. Or do you do what I did, which is keep your HD version, bring in the HDP, keep the HD so you can play the old tables. Don't worry about bringing them to the new one because quite frankly, they'll look the same. They're both HD, right? And use the new one to get the Zen tables and the other tables that you want to be able to use if and when you upgrade to an SSF kit. I don't know. I hope that AtGames at least offers existing HD owners that are making the upgrade a discount. I've heard rumors that they might. I don't know that for sure, so I don't want to put that out there and say that they're not, so that they are, because I don't know that for sure. But it would be nice if they do. I know they did that for a while with the 4KP. Hopefully, since you're going HD to HD, any kind of discount they do offer is substantial and that it lasts for a while. Because in my opinion, as long as you prove you own it, here's my licenses. My opinion, you should be able to just trade in your pinball pack licenses on your HD and trade them for the license on the HDP. It just makes sense to me to keep the customer happy, keep them in the ecosystem. They're not super expensive packs. It's just the right thing to do, but we know it's not typically the thing that AtGames does. So I really hope they do that. And just want to take a breath here and say hi to everybody else that dropped by. We got the bad guy Mike Worley who dropped into the chat. We've got Thumper Squid. Everyone is live right now. I don't know what to do. Thanks you for dropping by. We got Gamer Fridge and our friend Joe Cade is here. And B. Kirby, always nice to see you, my friend. And Julio Hernandez dropped by. Hello, Julio. And give me a reason to buy as a 4KP owner. It's the future. Yeah, so here's what I'm told. I'm told that the HDP packs and the 4KP packs are the same thing. So you that it'll be that one store. And if I were at games, and I hate to tell you this, HD owners, if I were at games, and I don't know at games is doing this, knowing at games they won't do it because it's it's the smart thing to do. But if I were at games, I'd follow what other tech gaming companies do. And after a little bit, after maybe 6 months, I would announce the end of support for the original HD. You need to upgrade, right? That should be their model. Why? Because they're able to do single development on the pinball packs for HDP and 4KP. They can have one pack that has both um, textures for the different resolutions, and they only have to do one set of development, one set of testing, because both the HDP and 4KP use the same chips, the same architecture, everything. They're basically the same machine with just different monitors and less extra bonus features. So you do that, you become much more efficient, cost effective. They don't have to maintain two sets of pinball packs. They don't have to maintain two pinball net stores. They don't have to do any of that. They can just in support, sunset it, say, look, it's not going to stop working. We're going to leave it running. We're not going to shut down the stuff you're paying for, but we're not going to develop any new packs. What you have is what you have. We'll encourage you to upgrade. And that should be what they're doing, is upgrade, transition to the new model, the new model. And it looks like we have Irish Michael C. Says Rexer's crying again. So that's interesting. I did not see that. I missed his show, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it. So that is in the promo, they have their weapons, did they? It's funny because Shredder clearly, as you see here, has his big weapons, right? Like he's got his big claws. Um, or do you mean in the original leak they had their weapons, which was just a mock-up? Anyway, so we're done with AtGames. I'm done talking about AtGames. Oh, Mrs. G.I. Joel is in the house, the producer. Nice to see you. Thanks for dropping by. Of course, you guys know G.I. Joel Gaming, the creator of the Build Choice, the best arcade cabinet to be released in a long time. Definitely, we're keeping your eye on that. I know Stock Jock dropped a video. He got his Donkey Kong Junior cab. Check that out. Multicade Matt got his Play Choice 10. Go check that out. Super awesome stuff. Great videos for you guys to check out as those start arriving to everybody that's getting them now, because they are phenomenal. But we also have Arcade 1-Up with the sneaking in the new claw machine. You guys know I'm a big fan of the Arcade 1-Up claw machine. From that first leak of DMAC showing us the Slim Katie and having that strategically leaked in the background, I have been excited for this. And this, to me, has the potential to be super cool. And I'll tell you why. It's not just the standard Arcade 1-Up. It's not just that it has the SpongeBob license, which is really cool. I mean, who doesn't want to flop like a fish? But it comes with some unique features. Hey, Fat Hog, thanks for dropping by. Is going to have a full wall. So I own a claw machine, probably not buying another one, especially not the same exact one with a different sticker. But for those who didn't jump on the original, this is fire. And these just came out today, I believe. Charles Johnson posted these images to Facebook. So they popped in the last few days. None of the Costco's around me have them yet. I looked because I want to get a closer look to this at these, and I'll show you why. As we zoom in here, if I can't zoom in that far, you see here we've got some new stuff. So yeah, as you guys know, the Arcade 1-Up claw machine comes with a bunch of capsules for you to put prizes in. Well, this one comes with 6 capsules, which I believe is half as many as the original, but you've got 6 yellow, a new color, and 6 blue, obviously going leaning heavily into the SpongeBob colors. But it also comes with 6 plush that are SpongeBob themed. And we can see here, even though it's very, very tiny in the picture, that we have SpongeBob. And if you look at these are bigger than the capsules. So these are good size plush. I thought for a minute they were going to be these little tiny things that fit inside the capsules. They're not. They're bigger than the capsule. So they're meant to stand alone in the cabinet. So you get 6 of those, and it looks like you get 3 SpongeBobs. There's a Plankton one. It looks like a Patrick one, and it looks like potentially a Sally. Though the Patrick could be Mr. Krabs. It's hard to tell. It's a little darker pinkish color than Patrick is, and it's not pointy. It's really hard to tell from this tiny picture. So that's why I want to go see this thing in person, because Arcade One Up hasn't put it on their website. It's not on Costco's website. I reached out to their team and got no answers. So need this thing to show up somewhere so I can check it out. The other thing is over here, right? So we got the 6 plush, the 6 capsules mentioned down here. If you see in this little box in the corner, but it's that one in the middle there, the music. So yeah, the current Arcade One Up claw machine has music. It's just some goofy little carnival music. But the big question is, have they replaced this music with the SpongeBob theme? Can you imagine, like, if they did that? To me, this thing is phenomenal. A licensed SpongeBob theme plays while you're getting the SpongeBob stuff. I mean, that is very cool. I hope that's what they did. I hope they were smart enough to do that. It looks like they thought of all these other things. I know a lot of people don't like these claw machines. I think this is awesome. I think this is really cool. My kids love the claw machine. I've had it a year now, and it works just as good as it did the day I bought it. I haven't had any issues. I'll be doing a deeper dive 1-year video soon. I'm halfway through putting that together, but it's been great, and I think this is awesome. And if you've got younger kids, especially if they like SpongeBob, this is worth jumping on. This would be a huge exciting thing for them. I mean, it has worked so great for my kids. We use it as a reward. You know, make sure you're doing your chores, you're getting your homework done, you're doing these things, and as a reward, you get to go down and play the claw machine. We give them, 3 plays to try to get something. If you win something, you're done at that point. And it's just fun. And they love coming down and doing it. And it's just a good opportunity to let them have fun and still come up with ways to teach them things as they have their fun. So I think this is great. It's a blast. And it's one of my favorite things that Arcade One Up has ever released. And it's funny that it was done after their heyday era, right? Where we had all those good games. So I think this is great. No Costco near you, Thumper Squid. So I will say, when Costco has these, I don't know that they ship, but I do know that they will sell to non-members. So I don't know how close Costco's are to you. I know there are quite a few up northern of us here. So Bill says, yeah, good choice for A1 Up on this one. Still want them to do Hello Kitty as well. Yeah, the Hello Kitty one will be huge for the young girls and the big Hello Kitty fans of the what do they call it? I'm drawing a blank. I have a bunch of the games, but the whole, like, Hello Kitty is part of the whole like show where there's a bunch of characters. And for some reason I'm drawing a blank. Yeah, smart for the licenses. And keep remember, we had other companies when this was launched immediately come out and try to make different themes, and some of those were cool. I have to tell you, this is one of the best done themes that are available that I've seen that somebody tried to make versus aftermarket skins. I think it's really well done. They capture the pineapple up front. You got the underwater stuff on the side. I think this looks really good. I think Arcade One Up did a bang up job on this claw machine. And it's one that's very interesting because they can rotate the themes on this all the time, which is a really, really smart move. Yeah, price, it's a little up there. So it's $5.99 is the is the price on this at Costco. Of course, the original dropped at $4.99. We know tariffs, inflation. Also, the other one didn't require a license, so now they're paying licensing. That they're also including the plush, as I mentioned. So even though it's 20% more expensive, up $100, to me, it's still a hell of a deal. I still think, and call me a shill on this one, I don't care. I like this. I think it's awesome. And I think it's worth every penny, especially having owned one. If they had not released this one and this was the first one, I would have bought this in a second. Like, I like this because I think SpongeBob is awesome. But claw machines are awesome too. So yes, Sanrio. Bill knows it. Sanrio. I could not think of the name. So Bill knows his Hello Kitty, which is a huge franchise. So Sanrio is awesome. So let's see. I think I have one more picture. Yeah. So here's the $5.99. I don't know if you guys can see the code there, but I'll drop it in chat if you are interested in calling around to your local Costco's to find it. And I think I just typoed it. Yes, I did. 1968959. There we go. Okay, so there you go. $5.99. I think it's awesome. So enough of that. We've got some basic fun news. So Big Fun, as you guys know, was posting about this about a week ago, maybe a little over a week ago. We started getting reports from viewers that their countercades, the WWE countercades, were not functioning properly. Pressing punch and kick at the same time was not triggering the run as it should in both WrestleFest and Superstars. Thankfully, both P-Dubs and I confirmed it does not affect the Ultra Series cabs. Those work perfectly from that standpoint, but there's definitely a problem on the countercade. And today they have finally officially released the patch for that, which you can check out and get at arcadeclassics.freshdesk.com, which is the support website, support portal for Basic Fun's Arcade Classic line. And you guys know Fresh Desk is a familiar name. AtGames uses them for their support portal. Many companies do. But here it is. It's right here along with the instructions. You download this. It's got a PDF of instructions, though I hear you should pay very close attention to the instructions because they may not be in the correct order. So make sure you read the instructions entirely before doing the actual steps so you don't end up destroying your countercade if you do this. And that's a shout out to Bill, who actually took the time to read that and find that issue. But this one looks like it should fix the issue. Now, I haven't heard from anybody yet if they've applied the patch, but it's out there. And you know what that means too? My guess is there are people looking into this patch already, trying to see what they can find out about our WWE WrestleFest countercades and the potential of possibly being able to restore the correct ROM. I mean, I don't know if that is going to happen. I don't know if people are actually doing that, but if I were them, I'd be looking at that. So that's the big fun news for the week. Which it's nice to see that, and nice to see they respond so quickly on the issues with their stuff. It is interesting as we go back, you can see probably some of the other common issues they've been having, like screen won't turn on. That was a common issue with arcade 1-ups. Usually involved the, cord not being plugged in or the cord being defective most of the time, though there could be other issues. But they got arcade won't turn on, resetting your game, buttons not responding, trackball not working or feels stuck, game freezes or won't load. So you can see they're starting to build up a list of common issues that people have been reporting and how to address those issues. And I'm kind of interested here when this trackball. So this is how to replace your trackball, I guess. So that's interesting. Now, I don't know that this means they've had a bunch of calls about these already, or they're just being preemptive, knowing that their competitors have similar problems. It's a good way to start. But um, there it is. They've already started with a good FAQ and support portal for their customers, which is hat tip to them. A lot of people don't do that. They just don't provide that info. Jason says it's not too late. Please consider donating to Steve. And yes, there is I'll put that QR code up there real quick. For Steve, the price is much higher than I think any of us anticipated. And so any little bit helps, as Jason mentioned. We'll continue to run this to help our friend Steve out because he deserves it. You guys have heard the stories. He's a great guy. And man, this stuff is expensive. It's quite crazy, frankly. So to remember to floss and all that stuff. Steve had other issues, right? We've talked about his illness and the cause of that stuff, but man, it's pricey. So let's move to our topic of the night. Yeah, we're all the way halfway through already. That's crazy. Time flies when we're more than halfway through. Of course, I don't know if you guys saw this. This was I guess a little over a week ago now, 10 days ago when this came out. And I found it super interesting, right? It says Capcom execs were bewildered, and this is coming to us from PC Gamer. Bewildered that people might want to play the original Resident Evil when GOG approached them about it. We have all those remakes. It's already the superior experience. And of course, what you fail to understand, Mr. GOG, is that the new thing is shiny, is our little sub headline here from the article by Joshua Wollens. And I find this pretty interesting. One, I'm a huge Resident Evil fan. And in fact, I just rebought because I had sold it years ago, the long box Resident Evil on PlayStation 1. Super expensive. I picked that up at KC Retro. It's the first one I'd seen at a retro convention for sale. And I've been looking for several years now. Of course, you can get them on eBay, but you never see them at conventions. And this thing was super minty. So I couldn't leave it. It had the, of course, manual, perfect condition, looked like it never even been opened. The registration card's still there. It had all the other stuff, like the included poster, which if you go online, you'll never see anybody saying you got the poster included. All like I said, the registration card, the manual, all perfect. It had the little foam piece that sits in there. The game looks like it never even was taken out of the box to be played. And the box itself, if you guys haven't seen these long boxes on the PlayStation 1, they are cardboard. They deteriorate very easily, whether they get bent from just somebody opening and closing the case, because the bottom part's all plastic, the top and hinge are all cardboard. So you're opening and clicking it into plastic over and over. They just get tore up. They just get worn down. And this thing looks like whoever owned it never opened it. And other than taking the wrapper off, I mean, it is minty as minty can be. And it's wasn't very cheap. So, I'm glad to have this one back because I've been trying to complete my entire Resident Evil collection. And for me, Resident Evil on PlayStation 1 is the game that started it all. It is so near and dear to my heart, running straight into Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3, which is what GOG wanted to bring back to people on PC. They wanted to preserve this game. And when they went to Capcom, they were like, what the hell? So I'll quickly read this. He says, I tend to share my colleague Tim Litchfield's philosophy when it comes to remakes. Do what you want. Do I prefer reinvention to a one-to-one remake? Don't kill access to the original. It doesn't seem like much to ask for. The kids get to play a version of a classic. I get to keep playing my old favorite like 2005 never ended. Everyone's happy. And I think that's probably how the majority of us feel. We love the newer games, but we have a special place in our heart for those classic retro games. They are simpler in how they were built. The games are often more difficult back then than they are now. So they were challenging, they were rewarding, and they had this artistic style to them that still resonates today. And you can tell the difference, right? People have different nostalgia, I think, based on when they joined, but even that NES era, the PlayStation era, those things still resonate with people because they have that style to them. Just doesn't can't be replicated all that easily, as opposed to like Atari. I know people have nostalgia for Atari and television, but it's so simple. Even then, we still like the art of things like Space Invaders and stuff like that. And especially the art design that they did on the arcade cabinets and the cover art for console games and things like that. But the games themselves had that uniqueness that we like to experience. And so this guy says, everyone but Capcom, anyway, as in everyone's but happy, which apparently took some real arm twisting to get the original Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3 PC releases on GOG last year. It seems GOG had to make a few persuasion rolls to get Capcom to agree to it, not necessarily because the company had business concerns about the move, right? They didn't think it was a case of it wouldn't sell or that, but but it was more because its execs literally couldn't conceive of why anyone would want to play the originals when their shiny remakes exist. Capcom were like, we have all those remakes. It's already superior experience to the games. GOG's senior biz dev manager, whatever, told the game business they didn't really see the value in bringing back the vanilla versions, which on the bright side confirms a lot of my prejudices about game industry executives and their appreciation of art. So GOG had to work to convince Capcom that there do in fact exist human beings who like to play old games. It took a lot of convincing that there is an audience that has a lot of memories about those games and would love to experience exactly the same game again. Thankfully, we were able to convince them. So that's, to me, is super interesting. Obviously, coming from the home arcade space where we like are living for those retro classic games, and Capcom is a huge company that has a ton of great classic games. And so this thought process is crazy to me that this company is like that. And even more surprising to me is they chose to be like that on this set of games, Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3. They say the newer one is the superior experience. Based on what? Just the graphics alone? Yep, the graphics are phenomenal on the remakes of 2 and 3. They really didn't remake 1. Like there's a remake of 1, but it was like on GameCube or whatever. So like I don't think just the graphics are alone to tell me it's a superior experience because game style and gameplay matters. 2 and 3 revamped all the controls. They revamped the difficulty. It got way easier. They made the game way less difficult because part of the difficulty of playing that original Resident Evil was the tank controls, was how limited your inventory was. And when I played through the remakes, they were so much easier. You never really had to juggle for ammo and for inventory space. You just always had plenty of it. And so while the game looks prettier, it sounds better, it doesn't have that horrible B acting of the Resident Evil 1 intro, which to me is pretty nostalgic in and of itself. I mean, that's part of the charm of Resident Evil was that really goofy opening in the original, that cinematic on the helicopter crashing and the dogs chasing him into the mansion. I mean, that was part of the joy of that game was that really silly, classic B horror slasher type intro that we got. And it really was that control, that controlled camera angle and vibe that that game gave you that can't be isn't replicated in the modern remakes. And I could see wanting to play both versions. I enjoyed playing through the remakes. I did. I liked it. But man, I like going back to the original more. For me, it's not just nostalgia. It's a bigger challenge. It's just it was just more fun in my opinion. Both are great. Don't get me wrong. The new ones are phenomenal. And if you've never played it, I definitely say dive into the new ones. Experience it with the better graphics now. You don't have to worry about those tank controls. But I love that game, and I'm glad they did the remakes, and I'm glad a new one's coming out. But this is like nuts to me. Um, and I could sit here and read this whole article to you, but they basically just go through and say the same shit that, you know, everything's being remade. They're taking all these classics, they're putting them in Unreal Engine 5, doing all this stuff to them. And so, that's the question we're asking. Do these execs of these big companies even understand retro gamers and what nostalgia is? And if this was only Capcom and this is the first time we've heard of it, I'd probably brush it off like many of you probably are now, that this is just some one off with Resident Evil. But it's not the first time. It wasn't that long ago when Sega's new vice president or new president, a guy who's been around since Sega's heyday, took control, took the helm of Sega, and declared that they are not a retro company, that Sega prepares to go back to the future, it says. So I don't know if you guys remember this is stories from 9 months ago, but basically what he said is that he wants to get back to that rock and roll vibe of the late 80s and 90s that Sega had, right? Sega was the teenage radical to Nintendo's, you know, grade school level, elementary school kid video game system. They wanted to be punk rock and roll while Nintendo was they tried to paint Nintendo as, I don't know, the preps or the basic stuff. And he says, we need to get back to that. We need to get back to that. We need to pay homage to all these old IPs that we've left behind. He says, Yakuza, all these other things are great, but we have other IPs we've let languish. And it sounds like he understands nostalgia. It sounds like he wants to bring that stuff back, but he doesn't really. He one of the first things he declared was, we're not doing any more minis. So all the hope that people had that there would be a Saturn mini or a Dreamcast mini that you could have with a bunch of your favorite games on it died at that point. We're not doing any of that. We're not re-releasing retro games. Instead, what they want to do is take retro IPs like Sonic, like Golden Axe, like Crazy Taxi, Jet Set Radio. They want to take these games, you guys all heard this story at the time, and update them for modern audiences, right? They want to have it rock and roll. They want to make Sega be rock and roll again. But as he put it, in his words, maybe they need to be a little hip hop too. And obviously, he's just using music as the metaphor, but he's saying we need to update these for a modern audience. They need to be modern gameplay. They need to have modern look and feel. And to some extent, I say, okay, obviously, Nintendo's done that with Mario over the years. But they also didn't leave the old Mario behind, right? They still embrace Mario. They did their minis. They have their online gaming service. Sega, after this, pulled all those old games down. They took them all away. They took them off Steam. They took them off the Play Store on Apple and the Apple Store and the Google Play Store, and they took them off any marketplace where you could go get them. I think one of the only places left where you can play some of the Genesis ones are on NES, and you may be able to find here and there, but because there's probably still some older licenses hanging around that they have to honor. But as soon as those licenses are up, they're choosing not to renew them, and they're taking their games offline. And we've seen leaks. I've posted a leak on this very channel of the Crazy Taxi, the new Crazy Taxi that's supposed to come out in 2027. It's a multiplayer open world. I don't know that it's open world, but it's an massively online open world type thing of Crazy Taxi. So when you play, you're competing against other people. And so definitely check out the short of that if you haven't seen it. It's been a year since I posted that. Um, but it was a leak of the alpha of Crazy Taxi. You can see how it plays. It plays very much like Crazy Taxi. So I'm actually excited for it. It's not that I'm not excited for these things, but I also want them to take the original Crazy Taxi and give that to us. Like, I want Sega to embrace releasing the original Crazy Taxi as a home arcade, as anything, anything on here. Like, we want some of those old Sega games back. Can these modern home arcade companies get a Sega license with somebody like this at the helm of the company that doesn't want to be a retro company, doesn't want to resell their old stuff? He just wants to make new stuff for the future. I think you need to do both. I think you don't leave behind your history and the art that your predecessors made and put their blood, sweat, and tears in personally. And so I find this trend disturbing. I don't want to see it continue for a variety of reasons, not just for my own nostalgia, but for home arcade. And it's not like they make new arcade games. We want to see those heavy hitters, and a company like Sega is one of those big companies that dominated the arcade space, and we want to have access to those games. So I'm pretty frustrated by the current trends for sure. Not a fan of these execs, but I guess it's strange because, like, this guy was working at Sega at the time of the Genesis. He knew the era, yet he himself doesn't seem to have any real nostalgia for it other than at an ancillary level. His philosophy of the games is completely different. And that's why we keep losing physical media. That's why we're losing all this stuff, because there's no appreciation for these. They're just looked at by these companies as something they can sell right now, you get rid of, and then we sell you something else. And people don't do that way. Do they think people don't go back and watch movies multiple times? Do they think people don't go back and watch TVs? Do they think people don't go back and read a good book over and over? Like, people do that. That's common. Why wouldn't you want to resell them that over and over and over? It just doesn't make any sense to me. The bad guy says Resident Evil 2 is still one of my all-time favorite games, and it is phenomenal. Yeah, Resident Evil 2 is a blast. Sega does what Nintendo don't. Exactly. G.I. Joe remembers the old taglines. Mike Hawkert says, and the busiest man in home arcade. Jason, nice to see you. We got Devastator Mega says, regarding the poll, there's a surge of kids posting videos in retro space. Algorithm hit my recommended, where they're buying and collecting the old stuff like Genesis and NES. Absolutely, Devastator. Like, some of my favorite retro game YouTubers are like in their late 20s. They developed a passion for it through collecting, right? It's funny, right? When you look back, Mario, that is something that released when we were kids. It's what, 40th anniversary of Mario, and you can still remember when Super Mario Brothers came out, and it still comes out today. Mario himself is more recognized than Mickey Mouse, and never thought that would ever happen. Mickey Mouse was the biggest thing in the entire world, and now that's Mario. So it's only natural that is an IP that Nintendo has kept going, kept fresh, and yet kept very true to the original, and just kept going with it for all that time. And so there are kids today that play Mario for the first time, or their first exposure to Mario was the Super Mario Brothers movie. And you know what? As they get older and they start playing more games, they want to go back and they want to experience the other games. They want to know Mario's origin, and they go back and they go back And they go back all the way to the NES. They go back to the arcade games. And while they may not look at them the same as we do, for them, it's the origin, it's the start of the IP that they love, and they appreciate it from the historic aspect as a collector, right? It's no different than comic books in that sense. When we were all buying comic books in the 90s, and some people, a lot of people still do that today. But when you first started getting into the comics, if you were a comic guy, you were reading the comics of now, but you were looking at that going, man, I would love to have the first appearance of the Joker or the first appearance of Batman, which, by the way, you better be rich. But you did the same things. You wanted to go out and get those heavy hitter issues that you weren't around to buy, but because you love that character today, you wanted to go back and pick up the critical issues and stories that made that character what it is that you love. And that's how video games are. And so people that pick up Resident Evil for the first time today, they pick up Resident Evil Village or Resident Evil Biohazard, and they enjoy it, they want to be able to go back and experience that original Resident Evil and play that story from the beginning. And it may not sell 8 million copies in the first week, but they do sell. They do still hold nostalgia. And that's why I think these companies are nuts. By the way, for some reason, Ocho Cinco has been posting pictures of his arcade one-ups. I need to. That's interesting. that's strange. I think what I really want is people to put pressure on Team Encoder. So you guys see Team Encoder or Mystery Encoder in the chat, or you're in the Team Encoder Discord. Put pressure on them to release a flash for the Arcade One-Up Blitz, because they already have one, as you guys know, to put the late hits back in. Pressure them to release a version with modern rosters and logos and stuff. That would be super, super cool. We know people do that on the N64 versions and stuff, so it would be great to see that done to the Arcade One-Up. I think that would be fun. But anyway, we are almost at an hour, so I want to thank everybody for being here. Again, I know it's a busy night, lots of different things you could be watching, so I really thank you for joining us live. And if you're watching it on replay, again, thanks. If you're new here, you enjoyed this, we do stream every Thursday night, usually 8, but sometimes we move it up. This isn't the first time we've moved it up. I started it early last week, and I knew Brian was off again, so with 2 weeks in a row, I thought I'd do it at 7. Normally 8 o'clock Central, 7 Eastern, whatever. You know how it works. So I do move around a little bit because I don't like to step on Yo Retro. I want to make sure they have a chance. So oftentimes when they're live, I'll wait all the way till like 8:15 Central. So I do move around a little bit, but so make sure you ring the bell for notifications. But it is every Thursday, and I always try to get the show scheduled that day, very midway through the day, so there's plenty of time for you to see exactly when. But you can pretty much count on 7:45, 8 to 8:15. That range is always when we're going to start. So, and of course, hit the like button if you've enjoyed this. I would really appreciate it. It helps the channel, all that jazz. And again, new members, emoticons, emojis. I don't know if anybody used any. Like I said, my cock hurts. You probably missed that announcement in earlier, but we got some new fun emojis in there. So definitely try those out if you are a member and have access. And if you're interested in becoming a member, it's what, 99 cents a month to get started, get you access to all those emojis, all the badges, all the rumors we post to members only, other members only videos, trying to do all that stuff. So you do get all that bonus. And of course, all the money from memberships goes back into supporting the channel. And so I really do appreciate that. And I'm working on some other things for members as well, soon to come. But So enough of that nonsense. I just want to make sure that I know a lot of people are members already, and I haven't been the best about keeping up with members, so I'm really trying to focus on that. So I wanted to make sure that if you are a member, you take advantage of the things that the other benefits that come with it, obviously. So, with all that said, you know what we do here. Until next time, have fun.